literal equations is the exact same method that we've used to solve equations, but the only difference is we won't always have all numbers. But you're still going to use the same steps you solve for equations, okay? So I'm going to show you what we've done normally, and I'm going to show you one with the literal equations. That's why they're boxed off so you can see them, okay? So look at number 1. So normally you draw our variable, draw our line, and we're solving for x. The opposite of adding 5 is to subtract 5. And so we would say x equals 12. Well, on the literal equation, I'm solving for m. So box your m. Well, what's the opposite of adding h? It is subtracting h. So just like above, I'm going to subtract. Those cancel out, so m equals. But over here, I can't say b minus h. I can't put that in my calculator. So from the top, you start with b, and you write minus h. And that is your answer. Okay? So start from the top, and then you're just going to write what it says, b minus h. That's what you write down. That's it. And you're done. Okay, so on number 3, when we solve for x, the opposite of subtracting 6 is to add 6. Well, when we have numbers, 14 plus 6 is 20. Okay? On a literal equation, there aren't any numbers that we can solve. So it says solve for h. So I'm going to solve for h. Draw my line. The opposite of subtracting y is to add y. So h equals, now remember, you're going to start from the top. So start from the very top. So r plus y. That's on right now. R plus y. That's my answer. And I'm done. Okay? On this number 5, I'm going to solve for x. The opposite of this right here, remember, if they're next to each other, that's times. The opposite of multiplying is to divide. So I divide by 7. So x equals -4. Well, on my literal equation, I'm going to solve for p. So, and remember, if two variables are next to each other, that does mean times. So the opposite of multiplying is to divide. So I'm going to divide, and I'm going to divide by m. I'm going to divide by the letter that's beside it. Okay, so those cancel out. P equals. Now, you've got to start from the top. Okay, so the top, if it's on top, it's going to stay on top. T divided by m. You can also write, or you can write t divided by m. Either one, but you have to go from the top. So this has to go in first, just like on the subtraction. The b has to go first. The t has to go on top, or it has to go in front of the division sign. On number 7, to solve for x, this is division. So remember, this means divide. So the opposite of dividing is to multiply. So I would multiply 2.5 times 22. And when I do that, then I get 55. Well, so this is times. You would multiply 2.5 times 22 and you get 55. So I'm going to solve for k, and the opposite of dividing, so that's division, I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to multiply a times q. So what you do is you write a times q. And normally you'll just see a q. You'll see it next to each other because that means multiplication. Now let's talk about two-step. Same thing. I'm solving for x, and so the very first thing I do is subtract 5. So 2x equals 16, and the opposite of multiplying by 2 is to divide by 2. So x equals 8. Well, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to solve for m. So here's my m. The opposite of adding b is to subtract b. Now, I'm going to bring down the gm. And remember, on this one, you have to start from the top. So 7 is first, so 7 has to go first. So I'm going to write 7 minus b. Okay? Now, I'm still solving for m. So this is multiplication. Okay? That's what that is, multiplication. So the opposite would be divide. So I'm going to divide by whatever's in front, which is g. Now, these cancel out. You got m equals. I will tell you that you will normally see this for your division sign. Okay? So whatever is on the top, whatever's first, goes on the top. So 7 minus b is going to go on the top. Whatever is behind that division sign, that goes on the bottom. So g is going to go on the bottom, okay? So that's how you're going to see that. Now, if you want to use the other division sign, you would have to put 7 minus b in parentheses and then divide it by g. Okay, so you can do that, but this is the way you're going to see it, so you need to get used to that. Number 12, I'm solving for the letter p. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this. yp plus h equals t. And remember, I'm solving for p. So the very first thing I'm going to do, and sorry, I skipped number 11. I need to do this one first. I'm going to rewrite that. Negative 3x plus 6 equals 18. Okay, remember that's a negative and 6 is a positive. So the opposite of adding 6 is to subtract 6. That cancels out. So negative 3x equals 12. And then the opposite of multiplying by negative 3 is to divide by negative 3. So x would be negative 4. So right here, the opposite of adding h would be subtracting h. So I've got yp equals, now remember you have to start from the top, so I have to put t first. So I'm going to say t minus h. And then the opposite, here's my p, the opposite of multiplying by y is to divide by y. So p equals, and I need to draw my division sign, and this whole thing is going to go in the top. So t minus h. And then y is going to go, that's in the bottom, it's behind the division, so it goes on the bottom. And that's your answer. On 13, I need to solve for a. So notice I need to get rid of the b. What's the opposite of adding b? Minus b. That gets rid of it. What is the opposite of adding c? Minus c. That gets rid of it. So a is by itself. So a equals, and I'm going to start from the top, and I'm going to just do what it says. So d, and then you've got minus b, so that's next, minus b, and then you have minus c, and there's your minus c, and that is your answer. On 14, I'm solving for p, okay? Now, some of you may want to rewrite this, and you can certainly rewrite this, or you can do the opposite, okay? Look at what kind of m is that. If there's nothing in front of the m, that's like a positive m. So the opposite of positive is minus. That gets rid of that. Look in front of the n, that's a minus n. So the opposite of a minus is a plus n. That gets rid of it. So you've got p equals, and start from the top. So I'm going to start up here. I'm going to say t, and then you do what's next, minus m, and then you do what is last, plus n. So then you put plus n, and there's your answer, and you're done. Okay, we got 3 more. On 15, these are just putting it all together. I'm going to solve for h. This time I have a mixture of numbers and variables, but you still do the same thing. So I have my line. I want h by itself, so I have to get rid of the plus 3x first. So the opposite of plus is a minus. But since 3x is together, I get rid of it together. So these cancel out, and you've got ph equals, now remember, start from the top. So if m is first, m has to go first. So m minus 3x. And then I'm solving for h, so the opposite of multiplying is to divide. So I'm going to divide by p. When you divide by p, those cancel out. So h equals, draw your division sign. Everything on the top goes first. So m minus 3x, and then it's over p, and you're done. On the next one, I'm going to solve for y. So draw your line. Now, I want to solve for y, so I need to get rid of 5x first. Look in front. If there's not a sign there, it looks like a plus. The opposite of plus is minus. So put minus 5x. Okay? So I'm going to bring down the ay equals, and you've got t minus 5x. Now, the opposite of multiplying by 5, remember this is times, the opposite of multiplying is to divide. And you are solving for y. So I divide by the number that's in front of y. I divide by a. So y equals, draw your division sign. Everything on the top, 9 minus 5x goes on the top. Whatever's behind the division goes on the bottom. There's your a, and you're done. Number 17, solve for m. Draw your line. Now remember, I'm solving for m. So I got to get rid of the 5y first. Look in front. That is a positive. The opposite of positive 5y is a minus. Now some of you may prefer doing minus 5y like that, which is totally fine. Because I can't put them together. One's a r, one's a y, so I can't put them together. And then the opposite of multiplying by 3 is to divide by 3. So m equals, since I have division, I'm going to draw my division bar. All of this goes on the top, r minus 5y. And then 3 goes on the bottom. And you're done. And that is solving literal equations.